just basically slide your foot under, and there you go. Hello everyone, this is Sam Car Legion. Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another comparison. For today's video, we have the 2021 Mazda CX-5 Turbo 100th anniversary. And on my left side, we have the newly redesigned Nissan Rogue. I'm putting the new Nissan Rogue through its pace and find out how does it compare to other models. I've compared it against the Toyota RAV4, the Honda CR-V, and today we're going to compare it against the Mazda CX-5. And I'm going to show you what I like about each one and which model I like the most out of this too. The Mazda CX-5 for this year remains very similar to the previous generation, design-wise, space-wise. But how good is it? That's what we're going to find out for today's video. And if you haven't subscribed by now, please do so, because I have compared the Nissan Rogue to other models, and you can watch that in the coming weeks. But for today, we're going to compare these two bad boys. First of all, let's start with the Mazda CX-5. What do I like the most out of this Mazda compared to the Nissan Rogue? Well, first of all, for the 100th anniversary, we have a few design features. You have the black grille in the front, some beautiful chrome accent around it, and of course, everything else remains the same with the headlights and all that. The next thing they have added for this year, we have the wheel cap at the bottom says 100th anniversary, red wheel cap, and the beautiful gray rims on this model. On top of that, on the sides, if you ever see one on the road, Mazda wants you to know that this is a special edition called the 100 years anniversary from 1920 to 2020. The brand has been in the market for a long time. Now let's jump into the back and let me show you another interesting feature for this model. Because it is the turbocharged engine, now you have a badge under that says turbo. So you'll know which one has a turbocharged engine. Everything else in the back remains pretty much the same. The exhaust tips, I believe, have been modified slightly for the engine that is added to this model. What I love about this thing is, again, repeating myself on this, the engine under the hood. Let me show you quickly. The engine in the Mazda CX-5 makes about 224 brake horsepower. And the beautiful thing with the turbocharged engine, Mazda says that you don't actually have to use the premium fuel for this engine. You can use just standard fuel. The only thing is you're not going to get the same performance. And I have driven this and I have driven that. I find the Nissan, compared to this, slightly less powerful. And it's not just the specs, because this makes about 184 brake horsepower. It's a 4-cylinder engine, similar to this as well. It's just the vehicle, which is the Nissan. It's actually bigger by size, but it's not as heavy as this. That's the interesting part about this. It's not at the same level in terms of the weight itself. This, it's actually slightly heavier, but it's smaller. But in terms of the performance of the engine, I've driven both, and I know for a fact this drives much better. I'm going to go into detail once we take it for a test drive. But to give you a complete comparison between these two engines, one makes less horsepower, and that is the Nissan Rogue. The next thing I love about this model is in the back, and let me show you that. Similar to the Nissan Rogue, this offers a hands-free tailgate, and of course, you have the option to open through the key fob or the button located under here. The only Problem is that this doesn't offer a lock option for the car. So the Nissan Rogue, you have two buttons over here, one that you can lock the vehicle and one you can open the tailgate. In the Nissan Rogue, you get more space in the trunk. But in here, in the second row, you can fold the seats. Again, similar to the Nissan Rogue. The difference is that each seat individually can be folded. So for example, if you have something that is quite long, but you don't need the entire seat to actually fold, what you can do is pull this here, and then now you have the center part. Now that's pretty cool. Why? Because if you have people sitting on this side, but you don't have enough space, maybe you have something long, you can just slide it right through. The next thing I love about the CX-5, it's the design, and that is my preference. Now, if you look at them side by side, you gotta be honest about that. The CX-5 looks slightly better. It looks sportier. It looks smaller too. To me, this feels like a proper SUV compared to that. I've driven both, and I find the Nissan Rogue to be slightly bigger. It feels bigger on the road. Some people don't mind that. They like that kind of design. Out of this two, in my opinion, the Mazda CX-5 looks slightly better, and specifically with that beautiful red leather interior for this package and the badge on the headrest and so on. This, in my opinion, just looks luxurious compared to the Nissan Rogue, which looks a bit standard. The interior in the CX-5 remains very much the same as the previous generation, so nothing super exciting there. But this year now they have the badges on the headrest to show you that this is the 100th anniversary. Beautiful design, the leather interior. This is what I love about this Mazda. It has aged very, very well. I mean, think about this. This is almost 4 or 5 years old. So it's done very well in the market. It's still very, very competitive. This year we have some added features. So for example, we have a wireless Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. You connect your phone and so on. And that's it. You don't need any cables. We have cables here just to charge it because unfortunately this doesn't have a wireless charging pad. Not sure why. In terms of technology, you will find some features in here that you find in a Nissan Rogue. So for example, ventilated seats, heated steering wheel, and so on. And then you have an infotainment system with a 360 camera. Once you put it to reverse, now you have full view. There we go. But compared to the Mazda 3, this did not receive the full clarity that you get in the Mazda 3. This is not at the highest level in terms of the actual 360 mode and the cameras around it. You can still see some of it, but it's not at the highest level compared to the Nissan Rogue, which I'll show you in a minute. Now, in terms of the infotainment system, things remain very much the same settings and so on. As you can see, I have the Apple CarPlay installed at this point, and then the infotainment itself, the system hasn't changed. Like, it didn't receive the same infotainment system you find in the Mazda 3 models, which kind of disappointed about that. I would have liked a bigger screen as well. That would have made this thing more competitive against the Nissan Rogue. Now, the other thing I love about the Mazda is that even though it is an SUV, this model inside feels more like a sedan rather than an SUV. When you get inside, you don't feel like it's small. It's still comfortable. As you can see, I can fit in it perfectly, but it's just more compact. That's what I find with this. It's not like completely open, wide open area. You have everything where they should be. The climate unit right in the center, the steering wheel, it's perfectly aligned. Everything looks nice. We don't get a digital cluster with this. It's more an analog and digital at the same time. We get a heads-up display, very important. And that's it. That's all you get in this vehicle. But again, what I love about this is mostly the design on the interior. It looks put together, it looks nice, it looks good quality, and it looks more luxurious when you get inside this Mazda. The next thing we're going to talk about is what I like about the Nissan Rogue and things that you don't have in the Mazda CX-5. The door, you see, this way you have a full 90-degree door opening. So that way if you have a child seat or something, you can just slide right in and you're good to go. And the next thing I love about this is actually the seat in here. Now, in this position, in this car, you got more headroom compared to the Mazda CX-5. In here, you get more headroom. On top of that, this model, because it's so much longer, it also offers a full panoramic roof all the way across. I love that kind of feature in SUVs. In the Mazda CX-5, you only get a standard sunroof in the front, which of course you can open. And here we have a full sunshade and of course a full panoramic roof. On top of that, in the Nissan Rogue, you have sunshades on the side. If you want some convenience and you don't want this bright sun to actually bother you, you just... One thing is for sure, the Nissan Rogue offers you more cargo space behind the second row and with the second row down. On top of that, take a look at this. I'm standing under the tailgate. As you can see, I can literally walk back and forth, not worrying about the tailgate touching my head. That's very important. If you carry stuff, and once it opens, you don't have to kind of like duck down to have access to the tailgate. Look how high that thing is. Now, there might be a little problem with that, because if this thing is parked inside and your ceiling is not high enough, well, it might be scraping it, but you can adjust the position if you want it. So that's actually not a problem. This offers hands-free tailgate. Once you have your key fob, just basically slide your foot under, and there you go. Okay, it didn't care about me. My God, it almost snapped my neck. For 2021, the new Nissan Rogue receives a new interior. You get a lot of new features, new technology, new infotainment system, beautiful digital cluster all the way through, beautiful heads-up display, massive heads-up display, which shows quite a lot of information. The actual cluster, you can change the settings quite a lot. You can change the layout as well. You have the vehicle that shows you a lot of information. So, and then when you put the actual 360 pilot assist, now you have blind spot assist, lane assist, and the forward collision warning. So it shows you at all the time the actual surround area of the vehicle, so that way you know what's around the vehicle. Especially if you're driving, you'll know because of blind spot assist. It's something that is offered in the CX-5. Of course, both offer that kind of system. The only difference is that the actual layout of the cluster has changed quite a lot, and it looks really nice. And what I like about it, and I've said it before, is that even though it is a digital cluster, you can easily see through the actual cluster, because the steering wheel is positioned away and it's wide enough. Very smart. Now, what I love about this is that it offers a wireless charging pad located into this area. You just slide your phone. But most important is that they have given enough space that you can fit a giant phone in there easily. Very, very smart. A lot of cars forget about the fact that there's different size of phones out there. The disappointing part is that this doesn't offer cooling seats like the CX-5. It only offers heated seats, but you got a heated steering wheel. A 360 camera in here is fantastic. They've done a great job. Look how clear that thing is. It is sharp. The screen is much bigger than the one in the CX-5. Very easy to operate. And then you can turn on the camera with this button over here. You have straight access. And then you can change the settings. Depends what position you want the camera to be in. Like, that is very, very clear compared to the CX-5 as we saw previously. The infotainment system, it's quite smart as well. Very intuitive. You get normal settings. You get some settings for the vehicle. You can connect your phone here wirelessly. If you have Android, you have Android Auto. If you have Apple, you have Apple CarPlay, something that I use quite a lot. Now, the other thing I love about the Nissan Rogue is that, as I said previously, in the Mazda you feel more like a sedan. This feels like a proper SUV. What I mean with that is that it offers so more space. So for example, look underneath here. You can use this area for lunchbox or anything like that. On top of that, the cup holders, massive space in there, and then you have your armrest. But compared to the CX-5, this feels slightly bigger. It feels like a proper SUV in my opinion. And then on top of that, with this new design, it feels luxurious. But not as luxurious as the Mazda CX-5. In my opinion, the Mazda CX-5, you feel more in the upper level trims, not necessarily BMW or Mercedes, but within that range. And here, this feels more standard. But they've done a fantastic job with the cluster, the infotainment system. They're giving you a lot of features. On top of that, a beautiful panoramic roof all the way across, which I absolutely love it. And the seats this year, we have beautiful leather interior, different driving modes, something that you don't find in the Mazda CX-5. We have the Eco, Auto, Snow, Off-Road, and then we have Sport as well if you want to have some fun. We're going to try that once we take it for a ride. In the Mazda, you only have a Sport mode, but both vehicles offer all-wheel drive system. Okay, so we've covered everything you need to know about these two vehicles. Now we're going to take them for a test drive. Let's take first the Nissan Rogue, and then we'll take the Mazda. But since I have a special area where it's safe to do a full launch, we're going to do a launch control on this and see how quick this thing feels and how quick it is. First of all, into drive mode, and then I have it in sport mode, of course, and then we're going to do the full launch. Here we go. So, brake is down, pedal to the metal, and let go. That was okay. Anyways, let's go for a drive. I don't expect this thing to be a Mercedes AMG or a Nissan GT-R, but it does the job fine. It's nice. It drives nicely. I feel this thing lacks power. I feel this thing could do with a bit more power because it's so big and you push it. Under like 4,000 RPM, this thing really struggles to pull its own weight. Once you pass that 3,500 horsepower, 3,500 RPM, you're getting into the fun parts. But under that, I feel this needs a V6, like a Toyota Highlander style, maybe like 290 horsepower. At this level, at this size, in my opinion, I don't feel this is as quick. In the Mazda Turbo, we'll see that once we take that for a drive, but that's one thing I noticed with the Mazda. It's a great vehicle and it feels so much faster than this. Now, the next thing is to remember that this beautiful system, the next thing is that with the 2021 model, we have a Pro Pilot Assist option, so we're gonna turn it on in here, set the speed limit, and then here we go. Now it's recognizing the lines. It will basically keep you within the lanes. It's actively steering. Very, very smart technology. And it's fantastic. It's very accurate. You have to keep your hands on the wheel. Legally, you're supposed to, but I'm just giving you for demonstration how smart this thing is. Once you keep your hands on the wheel, it will actively steer for you. It's a very smart technology that a lot of companies are introducing for their vehicles, and Nissan is catching up to that with its technology. It's showing that this vehicle can be very competitive and very, very similar technologies that you'll find in the higher vehicles. Hopefully they introduce something like that in the Infiniti, which I'm sure they will. Now let's do our cabin noise test around this area. It's 80 kilometers an hour, and let's see how quiet or loud this thing is and how it compares to the Mazda CX-5. Okay. At 80 kilometers an hour, this shows 62.8. It's a bit windy today, but to be fair to both of them, we're going to take the Mazda CX-5 around the same area. So just to make it a fair comparison, that way we can see. That's a good number, 62.8 at 80 kilometers. I'm assuming at 100 kilometers, you're looking at 63 point something. The higher the speed, the more noise comes inside. And let's do a full U-turn here. Nice. One thing I noticed with this is that it feels so much bigger than any other SUVs out there at that size. Even with the RAV4 that I compared with the CR-V as well, it feels big inside. This feels more like a 3-row SUV. I think Nissan should have added a 3rd row option in this. Would have made it very competitive, but that means that the Pathfinder will have struggle to sell because people are like, why do I need that instead of this? So I think, yeah, I get it, but it would have been nice. Like the Mercedes GLB, for example, or the Volkswagen Tiguan offers a 3rd row. Like that's pretty amazing. They should have done something like that. What I'm disappointed with this car, well, first of all, no foldable mirrors. Like, come on, it's 2021 now. On top of that, no cooling seats in here. Again, disappointing. Not sure if it's an extra option, but I couldn't find anything online that said this is fully loaded. So if this doesn't have it, then it's still disappointing. The other thing that I think they should have added for this year was the actual rear view mirror that turns into a full LCD. That would have been another feature that would have made this very, very competitive. But I think maybe those features will be left for the 3-row SUV that they will offer. Now, let's jump into the Mazda CX-5 and let me show you how that drives. Okay, so we're taking the Mazda CX-5, but first of all, let's put it into drive mode, into sport mode, and let's do a launch control. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Whoa! Oh yeah, this thing is quick. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, this thing just took off, right? You can tell the difference in power. This thing is good. Okay, let's go one more time. A quick launch. Oh, the turbo. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this is exciting. This is definitely exciting. It's quick. I like this. I like this. This is so much more exciting. Like you hear the turbo. It revs, but it delivers power. That's one thing with this car. In the Nissan Rogue, you always feel like it's, come on, keep going. It's like, just give me more power. This thing is just there. It's just there. And of course, it makes more horsepower. That's something to keep in mind. The engine delivers more horsepower, so that's very important. It feels so much quicker. Okay, let's downshift to third. Okay, this thing is good. It's so quicker. It's so much quicker than the Nissan Rogue in my opinion. Definitely so much quicker. Now, let's put into regular mode, into drive mode right now. Let's keep it at 80 kilometers an hour and let's do our cabin noise test. We got 62.8 for the Nissan Rogue. Let's see how different this thing is. So we got 63.5 in here. So yeah, it's slightly higher, and I think it has to do more with the engine. You hear the engine here a little bit more than you do in the Nissan Rogue. Not that bad, not a huge difference, but yeah, there's a slightly difference. That has a better isolated interior compared to this. Now, let's do a full U-turn here. Steering wheel, it's pretty stiff in here. It's a bit rough compared to the Nissan Rogue, and the Nissan Rogue has a much more relaxed and lighter steering wheel. This, it's a bit stiffer. That's one thing I noticed with this. But I just want to put it in sport mode and hammer it. Oh, oh, this thing is good. This thing is, it's pretty quick. I gotta give it to you. Mazda has done a fantastic job with this car. It's so good on the road, so nimble, so steering is direct as well. Just literally, you turn left and right and the vehicle just follows your commands nicely. Love how this thing drives. Again, in my opinion, this feels more like a hatchback rather than an SUV compared to the Nissan Rogue, which feels so much bigger inside. And even on the outside, this feels way better in my opinion. It drives really nicely. So to wrap it up, here's what you get in one that you don't get on the other side. In the Nissan Rogue, you get more space, more tech. In the Mazda CX-5, you get better driving dynamics, a more luxurious vehicle inside, a beautiful sporty exterior design. This is what Mazda is offering, a different driving experience in this car in my opinion. It drives so much nicer. Now, in terms of the adaptive cruise control, in this model, you're not going to get the same advanced cruise control that you get in the Nissan Rogue. It still will keep you within the lanes. You set the actual speed in here, the cruise control. It has a lane assist as well, but it's not necessarily going to drive you and keep you right in the center with the similar to the Nissan Rogue. It will do the job fine. So here, let's test it out, and let's turn it on. In there, here we go, set the speed, and there you go. So now it's going to the right side and driving to the right side, and it's just showing you're not staying within the lanes. So it's not going to drive for you, but it will keep you within the lanes. It will notify you to stay within the lanes. That's something that this car delivers. Which one do I like out of these two? Which one would I buy? I think the Mazda CX-5, this model, is my favorite. It just drives nicelier. It just drives nicer, and it feels more compact, more put together. It's so easy to drive this car. This is one thing I noticed with this. In the Nissan Rogue, I'm always like, oh my God, am I scratching this? Because it feels like so much bigger. In here, it feels different, and it feels like a upper level vehicle, like close to a Mercedes or a BMW. And I think that's where Mazda is aiming at, to make this a different vehicle, not necessarily a standard. And on top of that, it will cost you slightly more than the Nissan Rogue. That's something to keep in mind. But I still like this. It drives better, in my opinion, and that's where it wins for me. I wish it could have had a better infotainment system and a wireless charging pad, but once you get in and you start driving, you forget all that in this car. I like the Mazda CX-5, actually. That was it for today. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts. Which one do you like the most out of this two? The Nissan Rogue or this? Cheers.